This is the allegation that's been made to us, okay, sir?
There's no necessity.
Yes, there is.
So I've only been a police officer for 20 years.
Right.
This was the beginning of David Carrick's downfall.
Understand you're under arrest,
I know
okay?
I'm under
Just
arrest.
explain to us, what do you need?
And in many ways, this is a story of the
Do you want one of my
strength
colleagues
of
come and
12
stuff?
women.
Okay. Do you wanna-
When this arrest made the news in 2021, those impacted started to come forward.
What you just saw there was shocking footage of an ex-Met police officer being arrested for committing some despicable crimes. Please be sure to watch the rest of the video to find out what happened in this truly shocking case. David Carrick, who believed his position as a Metropolitan Police officer made him untouchable while he assaulted over 12 women before intimidating them into silence, has been jailed for life. The firearms officer entrusted to guard Parliament and diplomatic sites after the Met missed clue after clue about the dangers he posed will spend at least 30 years more in prison for his 17-year spree of crimes. David Carrick, aged 48, stood in the dock at Southwark Crown Court, watched in person and via video link by his victims, to be told by the judge that he was the latest high-profile example of a malign abuse of power by a man against women. David Carrick, who had pleaded guilty to 85 serious offences, including 48 SAs, was finally brought to justice after a woman decided in October 2021 to report the attack on her, almost immediately after another Met officer was jailed for the murder of Sarah Everard. Carrick must serve a minimum term of 32 years before he can be considered for release. As the judge began her remarks, Carrick, in a dark grey jacket and tie, looked at her, but his gaze dropped to the floor as she detailed his crimes, with his face expressionless. I'll now go to play you some of the footage from the actual live sentencing that was displayed on TV.
Considered guidance from Lord Thomas, the Chief Justice, in the Crown and Verinskas. I have to consider what form of sentence should follow this determination. Section 285 of the Sentencing Code applies to those offences you committed after the 4th of April 2005, which comprise the majority. I consider that the seriousness of the offence of which I have to sentence you is such as to justify the imposition as a last resort of a sentence of imprisonment for life. Indeed, only such a sentence will meet the gravity of the offending I have to deal with you for, in combination with the risk you pose. Similarly, for the 5 offences of rape which fall out with the Sentencing Code scheme, I'm satisfied that life sentences are required to meet the gravity of the offending and the risk you will continue to pose. I have assessed very carefully whether, given your abusive position, this case should attract a whole life order. The rare sentence of last resort is a life sentence with a whole life tariff. In the Crown and McCann, Sinaga and Shah 2020 EWCA Crim 1676, the Court of Appeal Criminal Division examined conjoined cases involving serious sexual offending on a scale of extreme gravity. Although life sentences with minimum terms to be served of 40 years were appropriate after a trial, none of those cases reached the threshold for a whole life tariff in the view of the court. None of those offenders was a policeman, and the court did not have drawn to their attention any potential scenario close to the one presented to this court. However, the prosecution specifically does not seek to persuade me that your offending fits the description of, quotes, wholly exceptional circumstances, which the court indicated would justify such an order. I've also scrutinised the judgment of the court in another recent conjoined case, the Crown and Stewart, Cousins, Tustin and Hughes, 2022 EWCA Crim 1063, in which the offender Cousins appealed against the whole life order imposed on him, following a notorious abduction of a young woman from the streets of London, accomplished while he was an off-duty police officer by use of his warrant card, followed by her rape and murder. The court accepted that police officers are in a uniquely powerful position. In respect of the fixing of minimum terms where a mandatory life sentence is required by law, as set out in Schedule 21 of the Sentencing Code, a different scheme to the one I have to apply, Lord Burnett, Chief Justice, stated the principle, quote, "In our view, the correct approach is to focus on the facts, which in a rare case might lead to the conclusion that a whole life order is appropriate," close quote. At paragraph 83, having explained the correct route to a whole life order in that case, he continued, quote, "This was, as the judge said, warped, selfish and brutal offending which was both sexual and homicidal. It was a case with unique and extreme aggravating features. Chief amongst these, as the judge correctly identified, was the grotesque misuse by Cousins of his position as a police officer with all that connoted to facilitate Miss Everard's kidnap, rape and murder. We agree with the observations of the judge about the unique position of the police, the critical importance of their role and the critical trust the public repose in them." End of quote. Had the court in McCann imagined the facts of this case, would they have equated it to the gravity of the near-miss mass murder attempt or the foiled terrorist atrocity, which the court considered would compel a court to attach a whole life tariff to a discretionary life sentence? The standout feature is the element of abuse of the status of a police constable, but having considered the matter with care, I've come to the same conclusion as the prosecution. Of the utmost gravity though this is, the wholly exceptional circumstances test is not met. Thus, the imposition of a discretionary life sentence without a whole life tariff must be accompanied by an evaluation of the notional determinate term that would have been required to mark the gravity of the total offending had a life sentence not been imposed. That term provides the start of the calculation required to reach a minimum term an offender must serve. It must be for the shortest term that is commensurate with the seriousness of the offences before the court. Mr. Williamson, King's Counsel, in his succinct and well-focused mitigation, submits that the criminality before this court does not reach the extreme limits found in the cases of the offenders McCann and Sinaga. I do not agree. Your offending was over 17 years and encompassed 12 victims. Moreover, the singular element which elevates your offending as a brutal serial rapist into that company is the principal aggravating feature of the explicit or implicit use of your occupation to entice, reassure, or intimidate your victims. You have to bear in mind that my function is to impose appropriate punishment, and when that is served, the parole board will decide how to protect the public thereafter. Decades will have passed before that time comes. I conclude that the notional determinate sentence that would provide a just and proportionate punishment is 60 years. To that guilty plea, a discount of 20% will be applied. It is to your credit that you did not contest a trial. Your decision deserves this recognition because there is no doubt that a court hearing at which evidence is given and challenged provides a particular ordeal for victims. From the resulting term of 48 years, I have to set 2/3 minus the time spent so far in custody, which is 491 days. Stand up, David Carrick. I've made ancillary orders for deprivation pursuant to Section 153 of the Sentencing Act 2020 and restraining orders under Sections 359 and 360 of the Act. They will remain in force until further order. The victim surcharge applies. I make no sexual harm prevention orders given the nature of the sentence I am about to pass. On the main indictment on counts 16, 19, 29, 30, 31, 32, 38, 39, 42 and 43, the sentence is 4 years imprisonment on each concurrent. On counts 24 and 25, the sentence is 7 years on each concurrent. On count 6, on the second indictment, I impose a concurrent determinate sentence of 9 years. 31 sentences of life imprisonment are imposed on the main indictment on counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 26, 27, 28, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 40 and 41. Also, 5 life sentences are imposed on the second indictment on counts 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This makes a total of 36 life sentences. The minimum term you will have to serve before the parole board can think of releasing you is 30 years, 239 days. And you may go down. Mr. Little, Mr. Williamson, the court salutes the courage of all the victims and their families, and I hope they're able to thrive in the rest of their lives. The teams of police officers concerned have worked hard to bring this case to court and to keep the confidence of the victims. To do so under the fierce scrutiny this case has attracted is promising for the future. The Crown Prosecution Service lawyers and counsel have met tight deadlines set by the court and put the case together fairly and effectively. The defence team has met the challenge of dealing with an evolving set of grave allegations and a completely disorientated client with patience and professionalism. The court wishes to recognise that work and to thank all of you.
In all, he carried out attacks on at least 12 women between the years of 2003 and 2020, all of which took place while he was a serving Metropolitan Police officer. Some of the women he met online via dating apps, and others he attacked after at first appearing charming and luring them into long-term relationships. He joined the Metropolitan Police in 2001 and was subsequently selected in 2009 to carry a gun and guard parliamentary and diplomatic sites. The Met has now gone on to say that he should have never been a police officer, with a series of women making complaints against him, yet the force failed to spot the dangers he posed to them. The government has now also ordered an inquiry into the Carrick scandal, and Justice Chima Grubb said that his position as a police officer was an aggravating factor. This violent sexual offending against women commenced almost immediately after you became a police constable and you referred to your job when offending. The judge said in one attack, the first which he was sentenced for, he told a woman she was safe with him because he was a police officer. How wrong that statement came to be. Justice Chima Grubb went on to add that Carrick used police-issue items to assault authority and force compliance, as well as telling the women that any complaint against him, a serving police officer, would be disbelieved, even telling one that he is the law. I will now end the video by playing you the full body cam footage of his arrest. Even in this short footage you can tell what type of a nasty man he was. And yeah, make your own opinions on it.
These are the necessities that I've just explained to you.
No
Therefore,
necessities. Why keep going?
well, that's 1 of 3, 1 of 4. So, okay. Well, it'll allow you to get some close
What is it you're searching for?
articles relating to the offences
in St Albans.
in 2020. This is the allegation that's been made to us. Okay, sir.
There's no necessity.
Yes, there is.
I've been a police officer for 20 years.
Right, David.
Do you want me to come naked like this?
No, just understand you're under arrest.
I know
Okay.
I'm under
Just
arrest.
explain to us what do you need.
I'll pull out like this. Don't
Right.
worry about it.
Can one of my colleagues go and get you stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you wanna? Yeah.
Yep. Which one's yours?
That one.
Okay.
Sake.
Are you in the address on your own?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Where are your keys? Then we'll bring those at least.
Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy true crime content, as it really helps the channel.